Okay. So, delegates, distinguished guests, it's my pleasure to open that event. You can see here the title on productive forests, and we will have a meaningful debate on with different views from different countries, and also how they support that. So, bom dia para todos. I will speak English. The debate will be in English, but if someone has a question at the end in Portuguese, it's welcome. We can take that, and we can, and even in French. So we want really to have a lively debate on to open at the end after the presentation, some moment of discussion. But first, let me explain how we will work. We will have the opening by the Secretary of the Land Governance and Desenvolvement Territorial, Mr. Moises Savian. Wait, espera un poco. He will give the opening remarks. We will have a video, and then after we will move to the panelists. Two of the three of them are here. We will have a moment for exchange with all of you. And we will have Ines from the MDA that will also give some concluding remark, a brief remark. So, but without further ado, Mr. Moises Savian, please, if you can come here and to give your introductory remarks. So, thank you so much.
Good morning, and the Brazilian government understands that family, sustainable, and agroecological farming is fundamental to face climate change and the future of the world. President Lula believes that's true. Action that we will achieve the sustainable transition our times demand. For the third consecutive year, Brazil reduced its deforestation. This demonstrates our country's commitment to preserve its biomes, will promote justice, social justice, and economic development. Proof of this, Brazil exit from the hunger map this year. In just 2 years, the Brazilian government has reversed the situation which the country has been in since 2021. This is the second time that force, led by President Lula, have achieved this milestone, demonstrating Brazil's commitment to feeding the families that need the most. We are committed on the basic foundation of the ecological transition, job and income generation combined with environmental preservation. In 2025, Brazil registered an unemployment rate of 5.8%, the best result ever recorded in the historical series, which began in 2011. There was also a significant increase in the wild bill. Understand the enormous importance of combining opportunity generation, food production, and environmental preservation. The Brazilian government has been implementing the National Productive Forest Program. The goal is to create productive systems that combine family farming and the restoration of Brazilian biomes. The program works to disseminate technical knowledge, which is essential to meet the needs imposed by climate change. We are also implementing seed banks, seedling nurseries, demonstration units, and community centers for collective education, NAMED, Casas da Floresta, or Forest House. In just over a year of existence, the program
para um fornecedor. Aí ela foi procurar, caiu logo aqui. Falou assim, para parar. Não, para não, deixa não. Deixa não isso. E quando voltar, volta e faz mais uma. Beleza. Aí isso. Ah, beleza, beleza. Agora, mas vai tudo isso, cara. Caiu luz, velho. Igualzinho. Enviando, fazendo foto. Lembra que os caras que iam botar a luz no evento do Luz? Se eles botar a luz do evento. Se noticiaram, vai dizer que foram eles. Tá? Foi tomando banho. Tem história, sim. Aí só. Então, ele e obra
into productive forests are very crucial, and this program is doing this. Yeah, and I may also say that that is why Germany has aligned itself to the declaration on the TFFF and is going to contribute to the fund. And that is also why Germany is among the supporters of the Amazon Fund, as was mentioned by you. And third point, through GIZ and through the KfW, the German government is cooperating with Brazil in the sphere of socio-bioeconomy, meaning that we try to increase and diversify the income of people who live in the forest and from the forest. So this is about Brazil and our cooperation. I would like to take this opportunity to speak or to say a couple of words about our German experience regarding sustainable management of forests, which is a quite different situation from Brazil, obviously, because we do not have any primary forests in Germany since more than 150 years, I believe. And so only managed forests. But still, there are some interesting parallels also, I think, for Brazil and Germany. And the concept of sustainability has been developed in Germany already more than 300 years ago, in the early 18th century, meaning sustainability, meaning that you use the natural resources only to the extent that the next generations will be able to use them in the same way. And this idea of sustainability has been developed by a person called Hans Carl von Carlowitz in 1713. And today, more than 300 years later, we are still, using his insights, and we have, of course, enhanced the logic. For example, today we include social and ecological premises on that as well. And of course, it is based today on scientific and research findings. Germany has 11 million hectares, more than 11 million hectares of forests. So this is all more or less a third of Germany's surface. And this is an increase of more than 100,000 hectares in the last 30 years. And this makes Germany one of the most densely forested countries in Europe. And from these forests, mixed forests with 70% form the majority of these woodlands. And almost half of German forests are privately owned. So half of these, in turn, belong to small businesses with less than 20 hectares. Yeah, so this is the economic structure of German forestry. Our forests are the #1 climate protectors. The annual carbon storage effect of forests amounts to around 62 million tons of CO2. Germany, of course, suffers from climate change as well. So we had severe storms, we had extreme droughts and heat waves in Germany in the last few years. And we have pests also. So the mass reproduction of the bark beetles have caused massive forest damage in some parts of Germany. So we lost about 300,000 hectares of forests, I think, in the last 5 years or so. And these have to be reforested. And this is a task that might take generations, because as you know, forests are a very long-term issue. Improved forest fire prevention, this is another important issue in Germany. The detection of fires, the control measures have led, fortunately, to a steady decline in the number of forest fires and the area affected by them in recent decades. However, the drought and the heat have resulted in increased fire risks again. Now, our focus, of course, is on stabilizing the forests in the long term. When reforesting damaged areas and converting forests into stable and adaptable forests, it's important to choose tree species that are suitable for the location. And this is an issue that has been, I mean, it's not new, but I would say 50 years ago it was different. So adaptation to climate change in forestry is a very important subject. And for example, 50 years ago, was much more like planting monocultures, like planting spruce forests or pine forests. We do not do this anymore. We plant today mixed forests, and then we look which species are well adapted to the new climate conditions. Yes. And as I said, this is a very slow and long-term process. And if you start reforesting today, it's your children and your grandchildren who will see the results, actually. But before finishing this, I would also like to mention one more thing, an example of combining active climate protection with productive land use in Germany. That is the re-wetting of peatland. Peatland accounts for around 8% of the land used for agriculture in Germany. And it is a climate issue because most recently around 50 million tons of CO2, that is around 7.5% of Germany's greenhouse gas emissions. So it's really a very significant amount, were caused by the decomposition of peat soils due to drainage measures and peat use. And we are trying to reverse this. By 2013, greenhouse gas emissions from peat soil in Germany are to be reduced by 5 million tons equivalent annually. And the most important measure for reducing these emissions is the re-wetting of previously drained peatland. And Germany's federal government and its federal states are ensuring enormous savings in emissions here. Intact peats are major carbon sinks. And while the wet peatlands play a crucial role in terms of climate protection, they are also important for the water cycle and the water balance. So they filter the water and help during periods of drought and flooding. And their evaporation is also cooling, and natural water retention functions are very useful in adapting to climate change. In addition, the agricultural or forestry use of wet peatlands allow these areas to be used productively. So you can re-wet the peatlands and still use the forests there. This is so-called paludiculture. So specific plant species that tolerate high water levels can be used to produce biomass for energy generation or material use on re-wetted peatlands. The issue connects also us, Brazil and Germany, because we have a research center in Germany, in Greifswald, in the north of Germany, that is engaged in researching Brazil's peatlands together with Brazilian partners. Their objective is to analyze and to map and monitor Brazil's peatland area, most of which lie in the Amazon, but also in the Cerrado and in the Pantanal, of course, and along the coast. We hope to be able to apply the insights from Germany for Brazil and vice versa. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. On what I will take. So you started with the importance of managing land, and you just do not stick on the forest, but all the land, on the palidoculture, that is also, it's also forest, but it's also agriculture in Germany. So you connect with, let's say, the environmental aspect on saying that is important for regional climate. And in Brazil, I guess you all have heard about Rios Voadores, so the flying river, that basically the the climate, the regional in the Amazon influence also in the southern part of Brazil. So this is what we are doing and what you will do here in the Amazon will also impact the other state of Brazil and the rest of the continent. So this is really important. And we learned from Germany, so a lot of experience on, we have seen that we have to anchor that in a generation to generation. It's not something that will be solved in the coming year. So you have to implement a system that will basically, perhaps the fruit, you will have immediate fruit for the people. We will see this perhaps later. But then it will also help to build the future of the generation. And this is really what we call sustainable development. So anchoring the action of today into projecting ourselves in the future to face the climate change that is becoming more and more stringent and also changing. You mentioned pests, and pests will change also probably with the climate. So thanks for that. And it's really interesting to see that connection that sometimes is not evident from a country from Europe, or you can bring the science help. And I know on the peatland, you are also supporting the Global Peatland Initiative that is for different countries all across the all across, thank you so much, all across the different continents. So in Indonesia, in the Congo Basin, on the Amazon Basin, so the Global Peatland Initiative that is looking at how we manage that specific land that is really important. Now we will move from another country on another support to that Fondo Amazonia. So can you please, so a little bit similarly, what we can expect from Norway on bringing experience or acting here on the ground?
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for the invite, and thank you to Moses and the Ministry of Agrarian Development and Family Farming, MEDA, for organizing this. It's a pleasure to be here in Belém on this very important meeting, very symbolic meeting in the middle of the Amazon. So we are very happy to contribute. And today's focus on productive forest and restoration in agriculture reflects exactly the kind of transformation we need. One that puts nature and people at the center, and nature first. And Brazil's, like Secretary Savian spoke about, the National Productive Forest Program sends a powerful message that forest recovery, food production, income for rural families are not separate goals. They belong to the same landscape, and they strengthen each other. And Brazil is showing development in the Amazon, showing that development in the Amazon can be inclusive, resilient, and rooted in strength and local communities. And I have to congratulate MDA on the results of the program so far. I just came from 3 days in the Rio Negro area, in the Ana Villanas Park, and small communities there, they are really dependent on the sustainable use of the forest. And so it's really heartwarming to see all the small projects that are being done. And Norway supports this agenda because we believe it represents the future of climate action, a future in which the Amazon is valued not only for its extractable resources, but for the ecosystem and communities it sustains. And you know, I guess you all know 30 million people live in this area and need to have and rely on the forest also for the daily lives. So people and the forest are important. We need to restore, cultivate, and safeguard both the forest and the livelihoods that are linked to the forest and the people that live in it. And this is why we in Norway, through our International Climate and Forest Initiative, have invested in a combination of mechanisms here in Brazil. And like Wolfgang talked about, and you mentioned, is that Norway and Germany has been long-standing supporters of the Amazon Fund since 2009 for our part. Now we are seeing other partners coming in, like the UK, the EU, Denmark, Switzerland, Japan. Did I forget somebody? So it's a much broader set of donors, which we are happy to see, and we have worked really hard for Germany and Norway over many years. The Restaura Amazonia initiative also demonstrates real climate ambition, and we applaud the joint effort by MEMA, the Ministry of Agriculture, MDA, and the big bank, BNDES, for launching the call on projects amounting to 150 million Brazilian reais. That's $15 million, right? So this is a very important initiative. And the combination of public leadership, technical excellence, and innovative financing is what turns policy into impact. And sustainable and climate-friendly land use depends on the creation of real opportunities and better livelihoods, not only for the small farmers, but also for traditional and indigenous communities. So in addition to supporting the Amazon Fund, we are also a long-standing supporter of indigenous peoples in Brazil. For more than 40 years, Norway has supported the indigenous people in Brazil, amounting to about $8 to $10 million per year. And that is handled by my embassy. Thank you. So it's important to mention that restoring the forest also is not only an environmental act, it's also an economic choice and a commitment to justice and prosperity for all the families and people living in the forest. And Brazil is really leading by example now, and we're very happy to see that. And the Amazon is essential, and we are in the middle of it today for global climate stability. I talked to a geophysicist last year. We had a seminar on the very same Rio Negro, and he said that with not with the current deforestation, but with the previous deforestation rate, the Amazon would be a savanna within 2060. And then you pass a threshold, and the rainforest stops to be a rainforest. That has grave consequences for Brazil, of course, for the rain pattern and agribusiness and everything in Brazil. But it also has a grave consequence for the big Atlantic current, the AMOC. The AMOC is also reliant on the standing forest in the Amazon. And that has impact all the way up to Norway. If you disturb the big Atlantic current, we are in Norway relying on the Gulf current, who is warming up the country. If we didn't have the Gulf Stream in Norway, it would be impossible to live there. It would be only ice. So this is all connected. I think that's a very important message for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for bringing those elements on connectivity. Yes, indeed, this is utmost important. Connectivity from all different levels, from the local level, the territories, the Amazon basin, but up to basically the world. So if we change, we have some imbalance somewhere, we can have a huge impact elsewhere. So this is why we have to be very careful of how we take care of the land. And you remind 30 million of people. I want also to go back to one element you mentioned, the BNDES. So for people that are not in Brazil, this is a National Bank for Sustainable Development. It's a national bank that supports different programs in Brazil. On this fund you mentioned, I guess I have here, will support action in Amazonas, Acre, Rondônia, Mato Grosso, Tocantins, Madeira, Pará. So you see, this is all the arc of basically the limit between the intact forest and the land that need to be restored. So this is really important. So you see, it's not only one state, it's all the different arc of the Amazon. And you have seen the size of Brazil, it's a continental program, basically. So thanks for bringing that. Now we are moving perhaps with a more Brazilian and Latin American dimension. And I'm curious to see how the World Bank is acting and also taking in consideration different elements like science, for instance, and also or policies. So what is basically your vision for this program?
Tá, bom dia. Vou falar português. E, antes de tudo, gostaria de agradecer pelo convite, por fazer parte do painel com os... Oh, you're going to translate?
So that's why.
Okay. Sorry? More sorry. Okay. Português? Inglês? Okay. Sorry. So first of all, I would like to thank for the invitation and for basically being part of the panel with long-standing partners from Germany, Norway, and FAO. I would like to congratulate the Ministério de Desenvolvimento Agrário for really a program that I think will leave its mark on this still relatively new ministry, and for the close collaboration with the Ministry of Environment and partners like Norway and Germany and FAO. Just a few messages to complement what my colleagues just mentioned. I think in the first place, this program has the capacity to really, be a game changer, ser divisor de águas, and both for planet and for people. And from the World Bank, we look at this program, with with a lot of interest and with a lot of support, because it can be a game changer for one, the restoration of the land. I mean, I think that's the main objective, but also for reaching the climate goals, reaching the Paris Agreement biodiversity goals, but then very much for the creation of jobs. And I mean, the World Bank is its main mandate is to help eradicate extreme poverty in the Amazon biome. More than 40% of the 47 million population lives below the poverty line. And so really the restoration, productive restoration of forests can basically bring income, dignity, and jobs. And so, these agroforestry models, the way you combine it with, let's say, value change, whether it's cocoa, whether it's cupuaçu, whether it's other agroforestry, really touches upon all these different points. Secondly, I think this can only be achieved through very strong partnerships. And from the World Bank side, and really I'm here, sorry, I didn't introduce myself, but I'm basically representing a technical team that is working day after day with colleagues at federal level, ministry, but also at the different state level. And my colleague, Dani Ahuda, is here in the room, but we have different colleagues in the Brasilia office, agricultural specialists, environment specialists, social specialists, working on, let's say, the different steps of this value chain, whether it's, thinking through the models of technical assistance for restoration, but also I would say, the financial models. And this is where we work with, BNDES, Banco do Brasil, Caixa, to really help understanding what are viable financial models for basically forest restoration through our programs, including programs which have, a very environmental goal, like the the Amazon Sustainable Landscapes programs. We have touched upon restoration through basically bioeconomy. So yes, we really need to think about, the value chain of these productive forests. And finally, as you said, I mean, this is a long-term endeavor from generation to generation. So we really need to think about, what are the policies, the institutions, but also the long-term financing that are needed for basically making these models viable. And so once again, I want to congratulate you. I think this will be a major legacy, and count on us, on the World Bank, through our Amazonia Viva initiative, but also beyond the Amazon, the Cerrado, which is a major biome that links into the Amazon to support with this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for bringing all those diversity of support that you are bringing to this country, but to other country, and linking the climate change, the biodiversity, and the people. So it's not when we act and when we restore land, when we settle people, it's not just bringing benefits to the climate change lens, but to the biodiversity part. We are also here in an hotspot of biodiversity. So this is really important. And one word that I really find really interesting, this is viable finance model. And this is what we are looking, because the agriculture sector, in the sense of all productivity, so forest, land, fisheries, aquaculture, is not attracting enough investment overall. If you look at the climate development related finance, this is public money, MDBs, World Bank, donors country, bilateral flow, all together, as reported to the OECD Development Assistance Committee, is regularly, it's increasing in absolute amount, but the share is decreasing in relation to the other sector. So the last number on FAO, we will publish that publication next week. shows that the overall all sector increased more or less 12% from the last year that are available on agri-food system as a whole, including land, forestry, and all increased by only 1%. So there is basically this sector is not attractive enough for investors. So this is why we need the public money to show the way on to attract hopefully blended finance with private-public partnerships. This is what we also need if we want to ensure the sustainability, because the public money cannot tap all. So basically, we need really to use those as an example to show the way. So this is a time for bringing that element. There was a video. So when you think about the question you might have for the panelists, or to me, or to the secretary, please, if you can project the video, it's in Portuguese, but with subtitle in English. And please, yeah, you can, if you want to see the video, it's better. So, yeah, please.
No passado, a fronteira de produção agrícola foi avançando sobre a floresta. Isso acontecia inclusive com o financiamento do Estado. Isso produziu muitas áreas degradadas, monoculturas e a perda da fauna e da flora. O desmatamento é até hoje a principal causa de emissão de carbono pelo Brasil. O Programa de Florestas Produtivas dos Ministérios do Desenvolvimento Agrário e Agricultura Familiar e do Meio Ambiente, com recursos do BNDES Caixa Econômica Federal, vem inverter essa trajetória, com o investimento em agroflorestas cultivadas em áreas degradadas, avançando com a produção de alimentos e árvores em um novo modelo de desenvolvimento que também gera trabalho e renda para as comunidades locais.
E a gente aposta muito no floresta produtiva, muito mesmo, porque é uma cultura diferenciada. Num pouco pedaço de terra você planta tudo.
A agrofloresta combina cultivos de tempos diferentes, mais velozes, como feijão, mandioca e maracujá, gerando resultados imediatos, enquanto crescem as árvores de açaí e cacau, produtos com grande demanda e valor no mundo todo. A diversidade de espécies recupera a mata e protege o solo.
Eu vejo era uma área toda reflorestada, né? Produzindo, né? Bastante alimento para nós e para nós vender também, né?
Essa produção variada pode gerar uma renda por hectare até 10 vezes maior do que a pecuária ou a soja, viabilizando um outro modelo de desenvolvimento para a região amazônica.
Além da gente produzir árvores frutíferas, a gente produz árvores para arborização. Então a gente consegue regenerar o nosso solo.
Para que isso aconteça, o programa se apoia em experiências já existentes com assistência técnica e recursos a fundo perdido. As florestas produtivas são sementes do avanço de uma nova fronteira agroflorestal, ocupando áreas degradadas e sendo uma barreira de proteção para a mata nativa, cuidando da floresta ao cuidar de quem vive sob ela para plantar um futuro próspero e sustentável, diferente do passado.
I invite you to go also to the field to see which will be even better and to discuss with the people that are really on the ground. But we see on the important element here, it's adaptation, that because having that diversity of production with short and long growing period that can really help to fight or to basically to pass those extreme events that will happen and more. So this was very illustrative. I'm looking if there are some questions. Oh, one question. I will ask you to introduce yourself, James.
Hello, my name is James Stapleton. I'm a senior strategic advisor at the Alliance of Biodiversity International and CIAT, the largest CGIAR center. So over the last 4 years, we've been discussing food systems transformations. And if you like, the buzzword on food systems transformations is the need for a whole of government approach. At the same time, we're looking at the stresses that ODA budgets are under at the moment and the stresses that they will be put on in terms of unlocking future investments. But on the other side of governments, there are lots of discussions around increases in defense spending. And within those commitments of defense spending, there's a 5% increase in GDP for NATO members and of which 1.5% will be in aligned spending. And so my question is, have the conversations started, or are there conversations around how that 1.5% could be spent in ways to make our food systems more resilient, considering the importance of food systems resilience to prevent loss in forests, and also to ensure minimizing fluctuations in prices in markets, which we all know what happens afterwards. We saw what happened in COVID. We've seen what happened. I'm just wondering whether there's a whole of government approach that's extending in that direction.
Very interesting and simple question to tackle: the connectivity between the climate change and the security agenda. So let's say like that. So if someone have a tip or an idea.
I'm afraid, I mean, I will start, but I will give it to my Norwegian colleague. This increase of defense spending is not something that we have been looking for. I mean, it is not something that we have chosen by our own will. This is something that has been imposed on us by the aggressive behavior of Russia, to be very concrete. And so the geopolitical situation today is that we are threatened in a way that we have never been threatened before. So this is unfortunately drawing resources from other very important issues. I may say even that I think there's a watershed 4 years ago with the attack of Russia on Ukraine, in the sense that the issue of climate change has been kind of marginalized since then. This is very unfortunate, because indeed the climate change issue is a global and is a urgent and fatal issue for everybody. We all agree on that. However, the military threat and the security threat now we are facing has imposed itself on that, and is kind of shadowing the other issue. And I'm afraid I cannot give you a kind of optimistic answer, or even for the 1.5%, because these 1.5% will be invested in infrastructure, in resilience in our countries. There is I don't see any priority for global food chains or something like that. It is more immediate in security issues that are closer to our territory, to be very blunt. Yeah. So unfortunately, I think this is the answer, the open answer.
I have to agree with Wolfgang on this. But so in Norway, I mean, we are a border nation with Russia. Our infrastructure is old. So exactly his point, we're going to use this 1.5 for infrastructure in Norway, I think. But given that, I mean, we are committed to keeping the 1% of GDP for ODA. We just announced last week $3 billion to the TFF, the TFEFE. So I mean, we are really looking to sustain the level that we have been for years, being one of the few. I think there are only 4 countries in the world today that gives more than 0.7% to ODA. So we will keep fighting to keeping that percentage. But also we see, you know, also in Norway, in Germany, right-leaning parties growing. So this is, I can't guarantee, but we are, at least for now, and this government has guaranteed that they will keep that level. So yeah, that being said, we see, especially in fertilizer, we have a big Norwegian company in fertilizing business, Yara. They have a big part here. I think before the war in Ukraine, 1/3 of their global activity were here in Brazil. But they've had to reduce because Russian fertilizer, Russian components of fertilizer are less expensive, less sustainable also, but they are underbidding the market. So they are also disturbing the food market with this system. So that's a concern for us and for our companies. Thank you.
Thank you. So it was not an easy question, and the answer was quite straightforward. But I will bring a little bit of optimism here. Climate change is a no negotiation agenda. We have to tackle climate change. We always will have conflict over the world. That's why we also have a UN system. This is what we try to. This is the space where we can still try to find a way and discuss when the discussion are not any longer possible. And I hope that's we will see certainly the end of all the different conflicts happening one day or the other. The sooner, the better, because it's really impacting the food supply, the overall food system. But we cannot stop. And thanks for reminding that your support to TFFF, we cannot support, because climate change is for this generation, but the future generation. So we really need also to find a way to navigate that difficult moment where money is not elastic. So basically, we have to do the best use of all the different budget we have at national level, international level, ODA, on trying to navigate that very tricky situation. So thank you for that. A question, a remark? No, you raise your hand? So brief, because we have to close.
Thank you very much. I'm from the Gambia. I work for the forestry department. I really enjoyed the panel discussion because a lot of it links to what we are doing in the Gambia. And I heard him from Norway saying, as far as climate change is concerned, what affects Brazil could affect them in Norway. And the same way I'm thinking. And for us, one of the major challenges in the protection and management of forests is the fire. And I heard him talk about fire detection. Most of the time we rely on the communities to help control fire. So he's talking about fire detection and control. So maybe if we can talk later so that I can know much about it.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I see that they will have some bilateral exchange on reminding that an important issue, fire, it's who can best control the fire as the people on the ground. And this is what we will see here.
If I may just make a pitch, we at the World Bank, we did an economic assessment of the wildfires in 2024 in the whole Amazon biome, so of all the countries affected. And just to give you an idea, the economic impact is about $43 billion for the whole economy of the Amazon countries, which represents, you know, something like 1.5% of the economy of the countries. In some countries like Bolivia, it's 6% of the GDP. On Monday, November 17 at 6 p.m. in the pavilion of the Amazon Treaty Cooperation Organization, we will make a presentation of basically how we had a comprehensive assessment of the impacts on health, on production, on basically carbon, but at the same time also going forward, thinking of what are, let's say, effective policies for prevention of wildfire and how to evaluate, how to assess which ones are more effective. So you may want to join us on next Monday. Just making my pitch here. Thank you.
No, but it's not a pitch. It's also this is why we are here at COP to connect and to build new connection. And this is an important element. The fire protection on what is happening with that project certainly will protect the forest for fire and all the co-benefits. On this is not just climate change. It's you say it's health people because it's pollution. It's air pollution. So fire, this PM2.1, PM2.5, the particulate matter that really affect people even in the cities, not only the people. So this is why when we have people on the ground that are supported by MDA, basically they can also beneficiate the people in the cities. So this is basically the connectivity you were mentioning from local to global. Ines, I will call you. So just to close that event, Ines works at the MDA, but she's also representing this ministry in the FAST partnership, so Food and Agriculture for Sustainable Transformation. We will have an event on the 19th, but please, what you take from that event?
Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Well, I think that after this inspiring discussion and all the contributions by our distinguished panelists, I'd like to close reminding everyone that this is supposed to be the COP of implementation. And I think it's important to bring solutions like the Productive Forests program to the front line of food systems transformation. And also remind everyone about the action agenda that the COP presidency is bringing forward and putting food systems and agriculture as one of the main axes. And by that, the Ministry of Agrarian Development and Family Farming, along with partners like the FAO through the Farm and Forest Facility and also the CGIAR, are trying to bring together initiatives like these, including the Productive Forest program that are already in place by many partners to try to scale up initiatives like agroforestry and agroecology. So we are bringing together a plan to accelerate solutions that's called PAS, and then I'll cheat a little bit, that's called Terra. Which means together for the expansion of resilient and restorative agroecology and agroforestry. And this plan is structured into 5 levers. One is strengthening farmers, organizations, blended finance, capacity building, and co-innovation, seeds, bioinputs, and other technologies, and value addition and market access. So through this program that's going to be officially launched on the 19th in the Forest Pavilion at 11:15, we also bring forward a global discussion on productive forests that's going to be a part of this plan. It's a Productive Forest Global Initiative. And it's very important that everyone acts together and bring the solutions together to scale up and mainstream food systems as a solution, because we know that negotiations may go slow, but we have to show results. And once society moves together and we do show we can make a difference, things can change. And just to finalize and address this important question by James, I think it's important to remind that food security is also a food security issue. War may kill people faster, but hunger and poverty kill people slower, and we have to pay attention. So we don't have to we can't leave for tomorrow finance for food transformation systems. We have to do it now, and it's time to show that we have solutions that need support. And thank you everyone for being here in this important discussion. Let's work together for agroforestry and agroecology. Thank you.
Thanks, and a round of applause for also all the panelists and the secretary here. Thanks to all of you. And you say SDG 1 and 2, no poverty, zero hunger, are the most important and non-negotiable element in the climate change discussion. So thank you so much to all of you. Closing here.